Hello children, today in today's video I am going to explain about the mechanism of digestion of food in the small intestine by the action of the intestinal enzymes as well as the gastric enzyme coming from the the enzymes coming from the pancreas, and then I will be describing about the neural control of digestion and hormonal control of digestion. I will also explain about the absorption process of the digested food. A very small part of the chapter will be left, that is the disorders of digestion including malnourishment, so kwashiorkor marasmus. So that I will be very soon uploading. So go through the video and try to understand. So children, today's topic is mechanism of digestion of food in human being. Now here in this topic we are going to discuss about the movement in the gut, that is the movement of the food in the buccal cavity and the peristalsis in the esophagus, and then the mechanism of digestion in every part of the alimentary canal. So first is the steps involved is the mobility in the gut. Gut means the total alimentary canal. Now you see the alimentary canal or the gut shows the following movement. First is in the buccal cavity. Now in the buccal cavity, mastication of food takes place. Mastication means chewing. So the food is broken into smaller pieces by the movement of the teeth. And this broken food is rolled down by the tongue. The tongue mixes the food thoroughly with saliva and mucus. Now the mucus present in the tongue lubricates the food and adheres the masticated food into a bolus. Bolus means a lump, and it passes down into the pharynx for deglutition. Deglutition means swallowing. Now the mastication of food is a voluntary process, that is we swallow and masticate the food with our own wish or will. Next comes swallowing. So you can see here 2 points in the buccal cavity: mastication and swallowing. Second is swallowing, which is also known as deglutition. Now in this process, the food bolus or the mass of soft food after chewing passes into the esophagus from the buccal cavity through the pharynx. Now the food is pushed back against the epiglottis. At the same time, epiglottis covers the glottis. You very well know, already learned, that glottis is covered by epiglottis in order to prevent the entry of the food in the windpipe. So the bolus further passes down the esophagus by a successive peristaltic wave. Okay, now this is the reflex, and this takes place continuously till the food reaches the stomach. Now peristalsis is a reflex. Peristalsis is the muscular contraction of the food pipe. It is a reflex wave that comprises of a series of muscular contraction that passes the food down in the alimentary canal one after another. Now next comes the mechanism. Now how is food digested in the various parts of our alimentary canal? Now first is the digestion of the food in the oral cavity or buccal cavity. Now in the buccal cavity, you know, the previous topic I have discussed about the salivary gland. Now we have 3 pairs of salivary gland. That salivary gland secretes the enzyme that are salivary amylase. Here I have written S amylase with salivary amylase and lysozyme. So these are the 2 enzymes released by the salivary gland, by the buccal cavity. The saliva released by the salivary gland in the buccal cavity contains some electrolyte also. The electrolytes include sodium, potassium, chlorine and bicarbonate ion, and there are so many. So you see about 30% of the starch present in our food get hydrolyzed in our buccal cavity by the action of salivary amylase. And about in the pH of 6.8, this salivary amylase act on the starch rich food and converts into maltose. So starch in the pH of 6.8 converts into maltose by the action of salivary amylase. And lysozyme which is present, lysozyme actually it helps to kill the bacteria present in our food. So these are the functions in the oral cavity or buccal cavity. Next part is digestion of the food in the. So next is digestion in the stomach. Now you see in the stomach there are various type of cells on the wall of the stomach that is present in the gastric gland. Now you see in the stomach the food remains for 4 to 5 hours till it converts into chyme. Now internal mucosa of the stomach, that is the mucosa, submucosa, serosa muscularis, you have already learnt about all the 4 layers of the alimentary canal. So the mucosa layer of the stomach contains gastric gland. Now this gastric gland mainly comprises 3 type of cells. The first cell is the mucus cell or the neck cell that releases mucus. The name mucus cell, already you can understand what does it release from the name. Next comes peptic cell or chief cell or zymogenic cell. It secretes the proenzyme pepsinogen. So peptic cell, pepsinogen, you can remember in this way. Next comes parietal cell which is also known as oxyntic cell. This oxyntic cell or parietal cell releases or secretes hydrochloric acid and intrinsic factors which are essential for the vitamin B12 absorption. Now these are the 3 types of generally cells present in our gastric gland that lie in the mucosa layer of the stomach wall. Now see, the food is slowly released from the stomach in small quantity into the small intestine. Okay, so a slow process. Now before going to the small intestine, the food undergoes churning in the stomach by the help of the acidic gastric juice. Why acidic? Because the pH of the stomach is acidic due to hydrochloric acid. Now here in the stomach, the food undergoes churning by the muscles present in the stomach and the food becomes semi-digested and forms a pulpy mass called chyme. Now you see the first action of the pepsin. Pepsin is an enzyme. Now this pepsin actually remain as a proenzyme, that is an inactivated enzyme, proenzyme known as pepsinogen. This pepsinogen get converted into pepsin on exposure to hydrochloric acid in the presence of protein rich food in our stomach. So on exposure of hydrochloric acid, the proenzyme pepsinogen get converted into pepsin and that further converts the protein into protease and peptone. So you see the pepsinogen in the presence of hydrochloric acid converts into pepsin, that thereafter converts the protein into protease and peptone. So at the pH of 1.3. So this is the action of the proteolytic enzyme pepsin. Now there is another one enzyme in the infant stomach that is called renin. So renin is present in the stomach as prorenin that becomes activated as renin on exposure of hydrochloric acid and it converts the milk protein, okay, casein into paracasein. So this is the action of prorenin. Next comes gastric lipase. Gastric lipase, actually small amount of lipase is also present in the stomach, actually released by the gastric gland. This enzyme is actually inhibited in the stomach by acidic action. So because lipase act in the basic medium. It acts on the emulsified fat which is present in the milk protein, actually milk fat in the infant's stomach. So about 25% of the milk fat in the infants are digested by the lipase present in the stomach. Now see, apart from all this prorenin, pepsinogen and gastric lipase, there are some mucus and bicarbonates also present in our stomach. Now this gastric juice plays a very important role for the lubrication of the stomach and protection of mucosal epithelium from the corrosion of the hydrochloric acid. The next part is digestion in the small intestine. So see, digestion of the food by the action of intestinal enzymes. Now you know intestinal enzymes are collectively called succus entericus. There are 4 main enzymes released from the small intestine. First is disaccharidases, next is dipeptidases, third is lipases, and fourth nucleosidases. Now how do these enzymes work? Let me tell you. So dipeptides, which are already formed in the small intestine by the action of the pancreatic enzyme, it undergoes changes into amino acid by the action of dipeptidase enzyme, which is an intestinal enzyme. So dipeptides convert into amino acid. The amino acid is the final product of the protein digestion. Next come maltose. Maltose, which is already broken down in the small intestine by the action of the pancreatic amylase. The maltose which is produced, which changes into glucose plus glucose by the action of maltase enzyme, which is also a intestinal enzyme. Next come lactose. Lactose is the milk sugar. So lactose, with the help of enzyme lactase, converts into glucose plus galactose, and the ultimate sucrose is the carbohydrate component that converts into glucose plus fructose by the action of sucrase enzyme, which is also an intestinal enzyme. Next come nucleotides. The nucleotides undergo changes into nucleoside by the enzyme action of the enzyme nucleotidase, which thereafter undergo the change into sugar and nitrogenous base by the action of the enzyme nucleosidase. So this is about nucleic acid. Next come di and monoglycerides. Di and monoglycerides, that is the fat which is acted upon by lipase enzyme, that is the intestinal lipase, and converts into fatty acid and glycerol. So these are the final steps of digestion of all the component of food in the small intestine by the intestinal enzymes. So all these biomacromolecules mentioned above are broken down into in the duodenum region of the small intestine. Okay. Now the the simplest forms are absorbed in the other 2 regions of the small intestine, that is jejunum and ileum. Next come digestion in the large intestine. There is no such digestive enzyme in large intestine because already digestion has been taken place in the small intestine and small particles are absorbed already in the duodenum and jejunum and ileum. Now the large intestine is the last part of the alimentary canal where the chemical simplification of the food occurs. Okay, so this is carried out by some bacterial action. There are some bacteria, symbiotic bacteria or useful bacteria in our large intestine that carry on these functions. Now gland of this region, they tend to secrete some mucus. Now this mucus is very important because it helps in the lubrication of the undigested food, that is the fecal matter, which passes to the rectum, which is lubricated by the mucus produced from the mucus gland. So this function of the large intestine, there are major 2 functions. First function is absorption of the water, some minerals and certain drugs in the large intestine. Second is secretion of mucus, which helps in adhering the waste or the undigested particle together and lubricating it for the easy passage into the rectum. So this is about the function of the large intestine. Okay. Now the undigested food or unabsorbed food, which is called the fecal matter, the fecus, it passes to the rectum. It enters into the cecum first, the large intestine. I already told you about the anatomy of the large intestine is divided into cecum, rectum and colon. Okay, so cecum, it passes to the cecum, okay, through the ileocecal valve which is present in the cecum that prevent the backflow of the fecal matter further in the large intestine. So it is temporarily stored in the rectum and then it is defecated out by the anus, from the anus by anal sphincter. Anal sphincter plays an important role. But the last part is the neural and hormonal control of digestion that I am going to discuss now. Now the next subtopic is neural control and hormonal control of digestion. Now see, for proper coordination and function of different parts of the gastrointestinal tract, that is the GI tract, it is always under a proper neural control as well as a hormonal control. Now how does nervous system or CNS, central nervous system, control the gut or the activity of the gut? Now see, like secretion of saliva. We know that when we see any food or we smell any very tasty food, we can smell the very, like you are smelling the biryani or some other food. So the olfactory receptor present in our nose is sensing the smell of the food, right? Now when we take the food in our oral cavity, what happens? Gastric enzymes, the gastric juice and the intestinal secretions of the enzymes takes place, and this total secretion of the intestinal enzyme and the gastric enzymes are under the control of neural signals. Now the muscular activity also plays an important role here in different part of our gut or different part of the alimentary canal. Now this movement of the muscular action, that is the peristaltic movement, is also under the control of neural mechanism. Next comes the hormonal control. So here I just drawn or a sketch of hormonal control of the digestion process. Okay. Now majority of the hormone, the major hormone that is produced for the digestion process is released by the cells in the mucosa layer of the stomach as well as the mucosa layer of the large intestine. Now you know, you have already read in class 10 that apart from endocrine glands, there are certain specialized cells. That specialized cells can act as endocrine cells that can release some hormones. Okay. Now it is suggested that it is reported that near about 20 different peptide hormones are produced by our gut cells, specialized cells. Now here what is this? This is a blood vessel. Okay, this is a blood vessel. You see, this is the secreting cell, the hormone secreting cell, which is releasing the hormone. These green dots are the hormone. The hormone is being released in the bloodstream. Clear, right? Now see, this hormone is carried away, and this is the target cell where it will bind. Now the hormone is released and get bind in the receptor present in the wall of the cell membrane, the cell membrane of the target cell. Okay, so the hormone enters the target cell and get bind with the receptors, and it passes to the blood vessels again and again. Wherever they see the target cell, it get bind. So this is the way how hormone plays an important role in the digestion of the various food component. Generally, these hormones are produced in our stomach and the large intestine. Right. Next part of our this chapter is, there is some of the disorders related to digestion process and the absorption of the digested component food. Now see, absorption takes place after the food gets digested in the intestine totally. It passes through the intestinal mucosa into the blood or the lymph, and the site of absorption is mainly the small intestine. Now, you know, in the small intestine there are villi or microvilli. They play a major important role in absorption of the nutrient by three processes: diffusion, active transport and facilitated transport. So these are the three ways how the digested food component is absorbed in the small intestine by the villi. Now how does monosaccharide and amino acid get digested or absorbed? Okay, absorbed. It is absorbed like glucose, fructose. These are the monosaccharide, carbohydrate monosaccharide. Now these glucose, fructose, the protein, these are all absorbed by like small amount of glucose, amino acids. These are absorbed generally by simple diffusion method. So simple diffusion method is the process of absorption of glucose, fructose and some amino acids. Okay. Now however, some of the substances like fructose and amino acids are also absorbed by carrier molecule. That is the facilitated transport take place in this type of molecules. Okay. So children, I hope you understood the topic of the digestion and absorption process of food in the small intestine, as well as the unabsorbed food passes to the large intestine, what happened there in the large intestine. So watch the videos, upcoming videos later part, and try to understand. If you have any type of queries, you can call me and inquire me about the topic. So keep watching the videos. Thank you.